Good morning, and welcome to another episode of Brewin on Broad Street. I'm Steve Snyder, entrepreneur in residence here at Gesmer. We're a full-service law firm for the life cycle of rapidly growing, scaling tech companies. It's a real treat for me today because I have a great friend, Bob Cronin, here with me and with us. So welcome.
Thanks for having me, Steve. It's great to be on the program and always great to see you.
You're very welcome. We've known each other for a very long time, probably 18, 20 years.
Yeah, I wasn't going to disclose the numbers, but yeah.
But we have worked on so many companies together.
Yes.
And so many companies that have had success, and you have played an integral role in their success. So I know you have a long track record of success as an investment banker, and I know that you have just joined Telegraph Hill Advisors.
Yes.
They're a Silicon Valley firm.
Right.
You're opening the Boston office. Tell us about you and them.
Great. Again, thanks for having me and great to be here today. So going way back, born and bred in Massachusetts. After undergrad and business school, spent time in New York and Chicago with some larger firms, but for the last 25 years have been working here in Boston as an investment banker for emerging growth technology companies, and started as a tech generalist, which means it's working with software, hardware, tech leverage services, and industrial tech companies, which was great to get that breadth of experience in different business models and go-to-market strategies. But over time, I've become increasingly specialized. It's a function of what I like to do, but also, our market, like every other, is hyper competitive here in the U.S. So at this point, I spend all my time working with B2B enterprise software companies in the data management, data analytics space, which encompasses everything related to AI, ML, which, as you know, was hyped to no end, and we can spend a little more time talking about that later. But yes, so this summer joined Telegraph Hill Advisors, and it's been great so far, early days. But as you say, Telegraph Hill is a boutique firm based out of San Francisco. The nice thing about Telegraph Hill, it has a very well-defined focus and strategy. So we only deal with technology companies. We only deal with emerging growth technology companies. And that strategy and focus aligns exactly with what I've done historically and what I like to do. I've worked for larger firms with bigger clients, but that emerging growth company focus is something I always find coming back to. I think it's an incredibly exciting, dynamic environment. As you know, I learned a long time ago I wasn't cut out to be an entrepreneur, but I get to live vicariously through these individuals. I think it's amazing that someone can come up with an idea, raise funding, grow the business. At some point, most of these companies in that emerging growth sector are going to exit through M&A or partial recapitalization. So early days yet, but really exciting, and I'm happy to be part of the firm and happy here to tell you about it.
It is exciting. So a really basic question to start.
Yeah.
Why and when should entrepreneurs hire an investment banker?
Yeah. It may seem obvious to some people, but it's not always the case. I mean, I still get questions from entrepreneurs about, well, why do I need to hire a banker? And I'll say up front, not all transactions have bankers involved, but I think it's worth noting that the most sophisticated M&A practitioners, those being the private equity groups and the corporate groups, when they are selling a company, always hire an investment banker, right? And it's not rocket science, but it is a mission critical process, and you don't want to be learning on the job. So, first off, you're kind of leveling the playing field, because if you're an emerging growth software, tech leverage service company, it is a very high likelihood that you're going to be acquired by a strategic or what we call a hybrid buyer, which is a private equity-backed industry participant or a standalone private equity group. They are incredibly sophisticated in their M&A practice. And again, you want to try to at least have a guide during that process you can trust. Trying to maximize what we call stakeholder value. You hear shareholder value, but one of the key things for us is understanding what happens to the employee group. So you're certainly trying to maximize shareholder value for the shareholders, but I found that almost every client I've worked with is incredibly concerned about what's going to happen to their employee base. So we look at that as stakeholder value. The other thing is optimizing transaction terms, and we could do a whole session on that, and you guys know exactly what that means, but very quickly it means being able to keep your money after you close the deal. And there's very specific ways you can optimize those terms during the process.
We could spend hours talking about why the dollar amount that is being offered in the LOI is highly likely not to be the amount that the person gets
Yes.
at the end.
Yeah.
We won't talk about earnouts now.
Yeah, no, we can't talk about earnouts, but it's a good point because it's the process is also the advisor should be trying to help you maximize the chance of getting a closing on those
Absolutely.
terms. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so you've worked with so many dozens of companies to help them get to that liquidity event. What's the best advice you can give to entrepreneurs that have a vision of getting to that point within 3 to 4-ish years?
Yeah, and I think that timeline is critical in terms of how respond to the question. And there's one imperative which I'll help me come back to it later. The AI imperative, I'll leave that for now, but I'll come back to it. But I think there's like kind of two major responses I'd have for that. One is obvious, but it's worth mentioning again that there is an extremely high correlation between valuation and growth. And the second most important metric is around retention metrics. So what percentage of your customers are retaining, gross retention, net retention includes upsell activity. So, those clients come to us and say, hey, what kind of revenue multiple? We're always talking about revenue multiples. We're never talking about EBITDA multiples with our clients. And those are the two, there's a whole bunch of other drivers, but those are the two key drivers. So I would encourage the CEOs, and they know this, is, to put in place processes where you can achieve that growth and ideally retain those customers. Because if you're growing rapidly, but you've got 20% of the customers leaving, then you're going to have issues in the marketplace. Generally, that's one. Secondly, I phrase it in the context of, are you ready for the preemptive offer? For an emerging growth tech software company, again, you're likely to be acquired, and it's likely to come via a call or an email, or someone approaches you at a trade conference, and they may talk about a partnership, but it will quickly migrate to, well, we really are interested in acquiring you. There are so many things that you should be doing before you have to respond to that. And some of them take a lot of time. And we could do another whole session on that. But everything from IP to material contracts to employee matters to competitive environment, financial matters, those are things I think you should be working on during that 3 to 4 year horizon to get ready for that call, even the initial response.
And not waiting for 3 to 4 years, but things that you would advise, we would advise
Yes.
entrepreneurs to start doing today.
Yes.
Over the next 12 months, 18, 24 months, things that can be done both operationally and financially
Yes.
to maximize value, to maximize the chance that all of that money that's noted in the LOI
Yes.
is going to end up in your pocket,
Right.
as opposed to just being in the LOI.
Right. And it's hard. I've never been a CEO, but you are so busy putting out fires and trying to grow the business and do all those things. It's very hard to take time to do those things, to get prepared. But you don't want to be getting that inquiry and saying, "Oh boy, I wish I'd done more work on these fronts."
It can mean millions of
Yes.
dollars in
Million.
value
Yes.
that one doesn't get or does get.
Yes, exactly.
So for our audience, these are the kinds of things that you should learn about, you will want to learn about from a person with Bob's expertise. In a moment, he's going to give you his email address so that you can contact him. But before that happens,
Yeah.
we're going to have the lightning round. You ready?
Right.
Hobbies.
Hobbies, you know, I probably still shouldn't be doing it, but my number one hobby is I'm still playing hockey. And it's the only time I don't think about family or work, and I've got a game tonight, and but I still enjoy that. It's a great way to keep in shape, and it's a social event for me as well. So I still enjoy that immensely.
Favorite places to travel?
Well, right now it's England and California.
I knew you were going to say that.
We have two of our children in California, and our daughter has just moved to London. So those are the places where we're concentrating on now.
Thank you for that. I have learned so much from these minutes with you, as I hope our audience has as well. If they want to get in touch with you,
Yes.
and you should, what's your email address?
Yeah, the email is bob@telehilladvisors.com, which is a lot. And it's my phone number and my email is on the website. Just Google Telegraph Hill Advisors and you'll find me on there. But again, bob@telehilladvisors.com.
And they can always find you via LinkedIn.
Always LinkedIn.
Or they can contact me.
Exactly.
And I'll tell them how they can get in touch with you.
Exactly.
And they know they can get in touch with me at steve.snyder@gesmer.com. Thank you for this time together. What a treat.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Great to be here.
And thank you for joining us in this episode of Brewin on Broad Street.